So say you're at like a dinner party.
Okay.
And somebody's like, hey, what do you do?
Yeah.
How do you answer that question?
It's kind of evolved over like the last 2 years because like influencer has a bad, connotation.
So let's be real. There's like 1,000,001 things to watch on YouTube. But if you're a runner, you've almost certainly found yourself here.
Like I don't look like most influencers.
Yeah.
Like I don't look like Kim Kardashian on a lot of levels. So like on every level.
Race videos, live streams, shoe reviews. Kofuzi is by far one of the biggest runners on the platform. In our previous videos, we've talked about everything from his physical transformation to his running journey, but I think I've saved my favorite portion of the conversation for last, as we talk about life. So let's jump back in.
My parents, they came to this country from Jamaica. And growing up, all they wanted from us was to be a doctor or a lawyer.
Yeah.
Doctor or lawyer, doctor or lawyer. I don't know what you came up in, but you were a lawyer.
Yeah.
And now you've left that. I wonder, like, was that a difficult conversation to have with your spouse, with your family? Like, did they accept that?
Yeah, it was really easy with my family because like they had kind of seen like having one foot in each kind of world and then just sliding over once that one was kind of shut down by the pandemic and everything that happened. So for them, it was a little bit more of a natural kind of like transition. They kind of saw and felt it coming just like I did. For my parents, it was a little like less, I mean, for them it was obvious too, because they also saw that like, I wasn't working and I couldn't work. So, because most of my work was in courthouses. And so like courthouses weren't gonna go open again for a really long time. And I was just like, no, I think it's a good time to kind of like close that chapter and move on to another one. But in terms of like, I was born in Korea and then we moved here when I was a baby. And so like, I grew up the same way where lawyer, doctor, maybe engineering is okay because it's heavily math based. And if I couldn't cut it there, then maybe business school. So like those are like two options with two fallbacks, I mean, so it's like, it's not like the bar set high, right? So, there was always that pressure. They just want what's stable for you. And they know from what they understood as immigrants that that's a stable way. It's a very reliable way of the next generation to succeed. And they don't understand this new way, which I don't even understand. And I have a hard time explaining, like, how am I making a living this way? How am I surviving? What am I doing all day? Like I sometimes have a hard time kind of elaborating that. And so for them to understand it was kind of hard to wrap their minds around. And so like kind of conveying to them that like, this works, I'm happy, and I'm doing something that's interesting, but also does have some financial reward to it as well, is kind of all they really needed to know. Sometimes like it just takes them a little bit of repetition and more extra convincing than other times. But the one thing that started to turn my parents around on kind of like, oh, okay, this is something, and not just like, yeah, my son's like, who used to play just video games all the time and we were worried about him, now is making a living on YouTube, is one time my parents live in Fort Lee, and we were just walking down by the Palisades, and we're going down this giant hill to get from kind of like up on the cliffs down towards the water. And it's a giant hill, and we're at the top of it. And I see this guy from the bottom of the hill slowly chugging his way up. And it's like a day like today, just middle of the day, weekday, work day. And the guy's like hustling, not moving fast because it's a giant hill, but I see him and we lock eyes for a second and I'm like, good work. And he's like, thanks. And then I can hear behind me, like his, run up the hill turns into a stop. And then he comes back around and he like says, hey, are you that guy from YouTube? And we start talking and we say hi and, we take a selfie and all that stuff. And then he keeps running. And my mom's like, did you know that guy? I was like, no. How does he know you? From YouTube. He's like, did he know you were gonna be here today? He went, no, he just recognized you. Yeah, people sometimes just recognize me out and about, even when I'm not like at a race and running. And she's like, oh, okay. So then I started to click to her that like, people are watching, it's connecting with people, and it's meaningful to them because he saw how excited he was, and so like that was their moment of like, oh, this is something that is impacting people, and not just this like thing that he's saying he's doing when he's really just sitting at home doing nothing, you know? So
you're not playing video games?
Yeah, so their worst fear wasn't realized. Instead, it was like, oh, okay, maybe he is doing something.
Are you kind of astounded by just the influence? I know you're an influencer, but the influence that you have when you go to these races and you have a shakeout run and all these people show up?
Yeah, I'm flabbergasted every time. But I will say that, like, what people see, like the Chicago video, and they're like, wow, there's a lot of people there. Like, that's really unusual. It's not usually that big. And so, like, Chicago is like I said, it's one of my tentpoles. It's one of my big events. Like, I map content around Chicago. And so, like, people are coming. It's easy because people are coming to the event and they've been watching me and getting ready for it. They might not have that many friends where they live in Spain or in England that have run Chicago, but they can watch this guy on the internet. And hey, I need to do a shakeout anyway, so I might as well run a shakeout with this guy, and then I can run in the place where I see in the videos, right? So it's like, it's easy because the marathon brings all these people to me. I just have to set up a place for people to run together.
But it still has to be kind of cool.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
From the GeoCities page,
yeah,
to all these strangers, all these viewers coming together in person to see you.
Yeah, it's so cool, and it's such a welcoming place, I feel like, and that really makes me happy too, is that, like, the people that are kind of getting together are good people. It's always incredible to be able to meet people that are from literally all over the world that are excited to meet me and want to, like, take their picture with me. That's why I love the selfies, is because it's like, you know, and for me, it's very selfish because it's proof for me. One day later, when everyone, like, forgets who I am and no one cares what I'm doing anymore, which may be very soon. I'm always very aware of that.
Are you a running rock star?
No, I like to think of myself as YouTube famous, you know, like, I'm not an internet rock star. No, I mean, I think that's another level. I'm like, there's a very small corner of the internet that I kind of, like, exist in. And if you like that little corner of the internet, you probably know who I am. And that makes me really happy.
Do you ever go for a run without the camera?
No.
Never? Like, do you ever wish you could? Do you ever, like, say, God, I wish I could just, you know, drop the camera and drop this and not do a review and just go out and just run for the sake of running?
I'm running for the sake of running every time. So, like, it's become so, like, second nature to me that I don't even really, like, notice it. Like, I remember in 2017 and I think in 2018 running the Chicago Marathon, I had a much smaller kind of, like, hand grip for my GoPro that I was using, a lot lighter than what I carry now. And at I'm hitting, like, mile 18, 19, and I'm just like, why do I have this? And I just wanted to throw it to the side, you know. I'm like, but then I won't have the last 18 miles of footage. So I guess we're stuck together, you know. I remember there were some runs that were like that, but kind of after that, I've just gotten so used to having it for every run that it doesn't feel like anything else to have on. Kind of like, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, I wouldn't want to run with a running watch. Like, it's just like, it'd be weird to have that on my wrist.
Then you forget it's
You start doing it, and then after a while you forget.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's kind of the same thing for me now, that unless I'm running really hard, which I rarely do, then I wouldn't mind putting this down, like if I'm on a track, you know, doing like 200-meter repeats or shorter. But it's very rare that I'll do anything that gets me moving that quick. So I just like having it with me.
You know, what's interesting about you is I feel like you have created an entire genre. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, do you get that? You don't think so?
No.
I think the Kofuzi run, the Kofuzi swing of the camera, all these things, like, you see any of these new YouTubers, any of these running YouTubers, they're all doing Kofuzi stuff.
Yeah.
Do you notice that?
Yeah, but when I see it, I don't see me doing it. I see Ginger Runner doing it. So, like, most of the things that I've done, Ginger Runner has already done it before. So I stand on the shoulders of giants for sure. So, like, Ginger Runner and Billy Yang have been running with GoPros for years longer than I ever have, right? And in the beginning, I mean, what got started doing shoe reviews is I wasn't a trail runner, and they do all trail stuff, and I'm like, can we have, like, a road version of that? And I was like, I guess I'll start doing it, you know? Yeah. And so as I'm starting to do it, I'm like, all right, well, these are the guys that I'm watching. These are the guys that I'm inspired by. So like I'm following their lead and kind of like doing trail runner things just on pavement in the city, you know?
But so you don't feel like, you're not like, oh, you're ripping me off when you see one of these new guys doing your moves?
No. I mean, they're not my moves.
I think you have sort of elevated it, honestly. I think there's a certain level to your production and to just what you do. It is another level, in my opinion.
Well, thank you. That's very generous to say. I don't feel like anyone's ripping me off. I feel like there's plenty of room for other people to buy a selfie stick, buy an action camera, 360 camera, whatever it is, get out there and start running, and show me what you can do. Because then, like, if you keep doing it long enough, you'll come up with like, oh, what if I do this? Yeah. And then I'll see that and I'll be like, oh, I like that. Yeah. Oh, what if I do that? You know, and so like we'll all start pushing each other, not in a competitive way, but in the same way that like competition is good for consumers in terms of like, you know, more players in the running marketplace is good for running shoes and for runners. Like having more people making these videos means, one, I have more stuff that I want to watch. That's why I started making videos, is because I wanted to watch more stuff, more running stuff, more people like me, more people that are running marathons. I do run trails and stuff too, and I love a good trail video, but you know, I like to see people training for road races, you know, and so the more that people are doing that, the more we all like make better stuff for each other to enjoy. So that's how I see it.
All right, comments now. Omar writes, I love what Kofuzi does. I'm from Mexico. And you know what? There are so many fans of Kofuzi, Kofuzians, or, you know, Foosheads. Not Foosheads, I made that up. But there's so many fans from everywhere. In fact, as we were doing our interview right after we finished, he saw a fan from Luxembourg who wanted to take pictures with him. So again, the Kofuzi flag knows no borders. LOL, you a delicate man, bro. That comment referencing the video I did a while back on the Hanson's marathon method, just talking about my experience doing the 18-week marathon training plan. While I enjoyed it, it's hard. Like, it's hard. And if acknowledging that fact makes me delicate, then I am a delicate flower. CJS writes, recently found your channel and have been loving your videos and style. Hope you have more videos coming down the pipeline soon. Yes, more is definitely coming down the pipeline. Don't know exactly when, but it's on the way. My focus has always been on telling really good stories, not just shoveling out content. And I think I might have something coming in like a week or 2 or 3. So stay tuned.
I just wanna have fun, clap my hands, turn around now and dance, dance, dance. I just wanna have fun, clap my hands, turn around now